Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are going to tackle a highly deceptive Amazon S3 error that has literally caused countless developers to pull their hair out. We're relying on a really great breakdown from software engineer Aaron Rose to learn how to navigate this incredibly cryptic error. Honestly, knowing how to handle this is an absolute superpower for anyone working with AWS. So if you've spent any time working with Amazon Web Services, and specifically with S3 buckets, just seeing this error code probably makes your stomach drop a little bit. You send off a totally routine request to fetch or upload an object, and boom, you get hit with a 403 error. But wait, it's not just your standard 403, it says all access disabled. It's frustrating, it's a massive roadblock, and for a lot of developers, it instantly triggers the sense of dread because, well, it just doesn't behave the way standard errors do.
Okay, let's really dive into this. What exactly is AWS screaming at us when this specific code triggers? The technical definition of all access disabled is a 403 error indicating that access to a bucket or object has been disabled by AWS entirely. Notice the phrasing there. It doesn't say your specific key is wrong, it doesn't say your session token expired, it says access has been disabled entirely by AWS. That right there is a massive clue right out of the gate.
And this comparison brilliantly illustrates the core distinction we absolutely have to make. On one hand, we have the standard access denied. When you get that one, AWS is essentially acting like a bouncer telling you, the user, hey, you're not on the list, you don't have permission. But with all access disabled, AWS is saying something fundamentally different. It's saying access to this resource has been disabled. It's like the entire club has been condemned by the city. It's not about you anymore, it's about the resource itself. AWS hasn't just rejected your request, they've slammed the door shut entirely. But here is the exact trap most of us fall into. When engineers see a 403 error, our very first instinct, our muscle memory, is to run straight to IAM policies. We immediately think, oh man, I must have messed up a JSON policy, or maybe I forgot to attach a role. And that makes total sense because usually S3 issues are permission related. But viewing the specific arrow purely through the lens of standard permissions, it leads developers completely down the wrong path. And that brings us to the most painful part of this whole ordeal. The most common mistake is spending hours, and I mean sometimes days, troubleshooting IAM permissions when the underlying issue actually exists at the account level. You can sit there and tweak those JSON files, add administrative rights, change user groups, and refresh your terminal 1,000 times. It is never, ever going to fix this error. You are just spinning your wheels. So I have to ask, why do we need to look beyond IAM? Why is it so absolutely crucial to completely shift our troubleshooting mindset away from user roles and policies? Well, because if we stay stuck in the weeds of user permissions, we are entirely blind to the actual state of our cloud environment. We have to zoom out.
This brings us to a total paradigm shift. The actual solution to an all-access disabled error is to check the AWS account status. This error is pointing to a much larger administrative condition. It means we have to look at the health of the entire AWS account itself. It's a global account-level limitation, not a missing user permission.
All right, so how do we practically do this? Step 1 is surprisingly simple, but you'd be amazed how often it's skipped. Confirm the requesting account. Before you do literally anything else, verify exactly which AWS account environment is making the failing request. When you're juggling multiple environments, dev, staging, production, it is incredibly easy to get your wires crossed. Confirming the account ensures you're actually troubleshooting the right environment where the block is happening. Okay, once you're absolutely sure you're in the right account, Aaron Rose outlines 3 specific places in the AWS ecosystem to find the missing context behind this freeze. First up, check the AWS Health Dashboard for any global or account-specific outages. Second, and this is a big one, look at the billing console. An unpaid bill or an expired credit card is a super common trigger for an account-wide freeze. And third, check the root account email notifications. AWS almost always sends specific context through those emails, giving you the exact reason why they pulled the plug.
But hey, what if those dashboards look completely fine and don't give you an immediate answer? Well, then we need to start scoping the problem. Ask yourself, can other S3 buckets in this account be accessed? We need to know if this lockout is isolated to just one single bucket or if it's spreading like wildfire across your entire storage layer. That helps narrow down the investigation big time. Next, take it a step further.
Ask, are other AWS services functioning normally? Can you spin up an EC2 instance? Are your Lambda functions firing? Actually, if any service outside of S3 is failing too, you have a massive flashing neon sign indicating an account level freeze that usually points straight back to a severe billing or compliance issue. Finally, do a quick sanity check. Do other users see the same error? Reach out to a colleague. If another developer on your team, who has a completely different set of IAM permissions, is seeing the exact same AllAccessDisabled error, well, that completely rules out your single user's IAM misconfiguration. The problem is definitely not you, it's the account. So I really want to hammer this point home. Not every S3 error originates in Amazon S3. Just because S3 is the thing throwing the error in your terminal doesn't mean S3 is where the root cause actually lives. Sometimes the real issue exists somewhere else entirely in your overarching AWS account architecture. Okay, but what if you've done all of this? Your account looks perfectly healthy in the billing console, the health dashboard is all green, your root email is totally empty, but the error stubbornly persists. This is where you have to escalate. It is time to contact AWS support. I know, nobody loves submitting a support ticket. You might hesitate to do it, but AWS support has visibility into things that you simply do not. They can view hidden administrative restrictions and internal AWS actions that just aren't exposed through standard S3 troubleshooting tools. They can look under the hood and see if some internal security tripwire was activated on their end. Let's bring this all back together. The big idea here is that an all-access disabled code is almost always much larger than a simple permissions problem. Instead of putting your head down and focusing only on IAM policies, you absolutely must investigate the health and status of the AWS account itself. Account status overrides permissions every single time. To wrap things up, I want to leave you with this fantastic quote from Aaron Rose that perfectly summarizes this whole troubleshooting mindset shift. He says, "Sometimes the bucket is fine, the credentials are fine, the account is not." It's so concise, and it hits the nail right on the head. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? As you go back to your day-to-day work, what other seemingly local, isolated errors in your development environment might actually be hiding massive global account issues? Keep that broader perspective in mind the next time you hit a wall. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Stay curious and happy troubleshooting.